Hello, YouTube. This is the Galley La Podcast, and this week we are going to be reviewing One Piece Chapter 1066, The Will of Ohara. So this is Gboss. Oh, wait, no. He's Gboss. I'm Akainu Fanboy. Please like and subscribe. And we are continuing the Germa 66 cover story, and they're returning to Germa with company. So we see the Vinsmokes and Caesar flying back to the ships, basically. So we're not sure how far in the past or if this is in the present right now, but from what we where we last left off, we saw Okaji and Van Alger on the Blackbeard pirate ship with Pudding.
Yes. So I would assume this was in the past because Van Ogre is fighting with Blackbeard right now. But I'm kind of surprised that they got away this quickly.
Yes.
I know that Caesar blinded them and everything, or so yeah. I think that I don't know. I thought Katakuri and Oven would have given more of a chase because everyone else was kind of preoccupied with the Blackbeard pirates. So.
And well, I think the thing with the Vinsmokes, they are quick and agile, though. So once they're out of the area, it's going to be hard to catch up with them.
Yeah. Plus, they can fly.
Yeah, they're technically. So it's really hard to get to them.
Yeah.
And as a team, I think with Caesar also, they could work in such a way where they can escape pretty quickly. So, and effectively. And probably Katakuri is not going to pursue them because they heard about what happened with Pudding. And they're going to maybe attempt to try to retrieve Pudding at some point. We're not sure.
Maybe.
That would definitely be in Katakuri's character right there. So just continuing on to...
I want to say something before we get into the chapter main. I'm still not convinced that we're going to Elbaf after this chapter. Still not convinced, but let's get into the main chapter.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more convinced after this, but not by much. We'll see.
Yeah.
So yeah, futuristic city from the past, I kind of thought was interesting. Just going off more for where we left off, and so basically, obviously this is a very Robin-centric chapter where she's trying to figure out more about the Void Sentry and everything, and bringing in the connection with the Buster Call. And then we find another connection with Vegapunk with the whole incident too.
Yeah. So, just by going off before we get into the flashback proper, so with this, I'm just thinking about if this one, because it seems to me it's just this kingdom was advanced, and the 20 other countries that went up against it brought it down. And I'm kind of thinking how that would have taken place, how they would have won if it was so advanced. That's just what I'm curious about.
Yeah, and I'm wondering maybe the acquiring of the ancient weapons is kind of what may have led to it too. Or at least one of them, and they got the upper hand that way. Or there was some betrayal going on within the Void Sentry itself.
Yeah. I mean,
and it is interesting how one of the 20 nations was, from what we can tell, good with the Alabasta Kingdom's family. They didn't want to go up with the rest of the world government families.
Yeah, that's true.
Which, yeah, is interesting.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking. I'm also thinking about the ancient weapons were probably on the side were created by the ancient kingdom. From what I'm thinking, because of the way that Vegapunk's doing stuff with lineage factor, and I was thinking to myself, well, how could that equate to what the ancient weapons are, like with Poseidon being Shirahoshi, but with the lineage factor could be that he created that, and then it got passed down through that.
Yes.
So that makes a little bit more sense, and like thinking about what Pluton's just basically a big battleship that they would have the ability to use. And if Uranus is the thing that Im used to wipe out Lulusia, then that could be like a flying sky fortress for all we know. But yeah, I was just kind of thinking about that.
Yeah, and when you said they erased every trace from history, that kind of made me think with the Nefertari family, like maybe one of the reasons why they didn't go up with the other elders is because they were so sickened by that, maybe, the genocide. And they kind of wanted to stay on the earth to kind of help rebuild it, basically.
Yeah.
That was kind of a thought I had from there, but they were kind of always seen as traitors from that point on. And maybe that's kind of part of it, too. You know, they weren't behind all the genocide and stuff, and that's why they were kind of traitors, you know? Seen as traitors, sorry. And then, obviously, the crew's kind of shocked, like, hey, why are you telling us about all this, man? You know?
I liked Usopp's reaction.
Right. And then it just kind of just... So, the wiping out of all the ancient peoples back then overlaps then with Robin's home getting wiped out as well.
Yeah. Did we know that Clover was a pirate or whatever he was?
No, I think that may have been like a first drop right there.
Okay. Was trying to remember if that was established or not. But yeah, you have anything else to say about that? Because we got a little flashback here. So anything else before that?
Yeah, so I guess instead of going for treasure and everything, he wanted to go for books and knowledge instead, which is, you know, kind of funny. And as a result, kind of like his inspiration is what led to all these scholars coming to Ohara. But as a result, kind of like this emphasis of strength and everything in terms of the intellect led to the world government destroying them too. And which I always find interesting. There's kind of that consistent theme whenever there's like a concentration in terms of threat of power, the world government will take you out. And I think like they really prosper off of division, whether it's division in the Yonko or setting up the warlords and things like that. They like having balance basically, and having too many smart people in one area disrupted the balance, which is probably why they're trying to kill Vegapunk now. There's too much knowledge in him, you know.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But yeah, so what were your thoughts? I mean, I thought it was really cool though with the Ohara thing, how they buried all the books, and that was kind of their sacrifice and everything, and how Vegapunk was able to memorize them all too.
Yeah. Well, I remember reading that when I first read Robin's flashback about them throwing the books out the windows and everything. But I'm kind of... So one thing that I thought is kind of a plot hole is that, well, why didn't the Marines go and destroy them? Destroy the books that are in the lake? But I guess Vegapunk's saying, like, if any Marines did discover books, they didn't realize how valuable they were. There's that, or the fact that they just didn't go back on the island after the Buster call. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. That I was kind of iffy on. Just like, oh, they... If they knew what they were doing, like gathering all this knowledge, you would think that these books would be like something that they would destroy. Even if they assumed that they destroyed them in the fire and everything. So
no, yeah, I think that's a good critique. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of tension in terms of contradiction there for sure. Yeah, like obviously still a beautiful moment though. I really appreciated that a lot. I think Saul being alive makes me more inclined to think Robin's mom is still alive in some capacity. You know?
Well, okay, we'll get into Saul being alive. So,
Well, I'm just saying it's like we see these panels of her mom. And I'm just like, I don't know.
so
You know?
from what I'm remembering, last time we saw Olvia was when she was in the tree throwing out the books with everyone else.
Yeah.
So I would assume that she would be in there, but yeah, let's talk about Saul, because we're shown that he was the leader of a group of giants that went back and retrieved all the books from the lake.
Yeah.
I mean, people did point out, like, Aokiji's move was called Ice Time Capsule. So the time capsule, it's supposed to be opened up after a certain amount of time. So it makes sense, but, like, narratively, I didn't like it that much. I mean, it's pretty obvious that it's Saul, but it just kind of throws into question any other death that we've seen in the past. Even, like, the biggest one I can think of is Frankie's flashback would be Tom, because we never see Tom. We just see him getting carried off to Ennie's lobby on the sea train, and Frankie tries to stop it. So he's the one I could plausibly see being alive if we're, like, counting out flashback deaths now.
And I think it kind of takes away the complexity of Okaji's character a little bit, because, like, instead of, like, learning from his mistakes and doing evil stuff, it's like, nah, he still kind of, like, was being good even back then, that moment, you know?
Yeah. Well, this leads into the, so, do you think that Aokiji, instead of being a member of Sword, like we've theorized, could be, like, working with the revolutionaries as well?
I do think...
Because we see the dragon connection in this chapter as well.
I do think it's a possibility, but he was a true believer, attacking Ohara, and he did, like, genuinely try to defeat Akainu for the fleet admiral position. Right. And he said, like, well, we don't really see him get worked up about anything,
Yeah.
And then he got worked up, so I think that was kind of genuine, and he does, like, actually care about the Marines and everything, There's a lot of conspiracy theories that could be written about that, just what actually happened between Akainu and Aokiji as well. But the Dragon connection is not surprising with Dragon, but it does kind of seem like Dragon and Vegapunk aren't super tight, and from what we can tell in this flashback, it doesn't really seem that Vegapunk went later on to work with him, because it just kind of cuts forward to and within a year he got all those commanders finding the Revolutionary Army, and then he doesn't really say anything else about kind of joining up with them,
Yeah. Well, with Vegapunk, it makes it very clear that he's with the world government mainly because they have the funds for him to do his research.
Yeah.
So I think that's the case. I mean, why would he, like, well, first of all, why would he help Kuma do the thing with protecting the Sunny? And why would like, he's not attacking the Straw Hats or anything right now. So I think there's more I think he's kind of more of a neutral party for everything. But you can kind of see a parallel between Vegapunk with Kuma and Aokiji and Saul. Just kind of letting them do their own thing, like saving them in a way. Like with Kuma, he let him do protect the Sunny and everything, and Aokiji left Saul alive. But yeah, what do you think of Vegapunk's design?
It's pretty dumb, but you know, it is what it is. I was kind of like expecting it though, but like that's just how Oda is. One thing I did kind of think was interesting was, so Vegapunk has a connection with Robin, Frankie, most likely Sanji, even though it hasn't been explicated yet. Luffy, and I'd say, who knows, maybe Brook, for all we know.
Yeah, Brook's the one. Brook could be related to anyone at this point because we know so little about his past.
Yeah, so those are. It is interesting how even further, like the connections that are popping up right here, in regard to this. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I do find that interesting. And then now we're seeing Vegapunk, or I guess like the actual Vegapunk united with Luffy and all them.
Yeah.
Which means Luffy, if I had to guess, oh yeah, and then we find out that the SSG is a special science group too.
I thought we already knew that.
Did we?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Well,
yeah.
Wait, SSG. Okay, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I always thought it was. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. But so what I do find interesting is that they're going to most likely be confronted by Lucci.
Yeah.
And CP0 now. So, and the Kuma Seraphim, which may not, be as walk in the park, even though Luffy's an emperor, man. Like I said, we just saw how the Mihawk Seraphim dealt with Blackbeard, and we saw how the Straw Hat struggled with an incomplete Jinbei Seraphim, and now we'll have a Kuma Seraphim too, and Cypher Pole Zero on top of that all.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting if that happens, because it's a weird thing reintroducing a villain who you've already beat as an antagonist again.
Yeah.
Especially for One Piece. I think they've done that with other manga. They most certainly have, but I mean, if Lucci's gotten anywhere near as strong, that'll be something. But I think you mentioned it earlier about Vegapunk reading all the books that they saved. And I guess he has a photographic memory because he says that he remembers all of it and continued the research. So does that mean that he knows about the Void Century as well? I mean, he knows about the kingdom that it's based on, but does he necessarily know the history?
Yeah, I'd say he might, know the history if he went through all his books, for sure.
Yeah.
And obviously that's it's kind of funny, so that's probably the reason why the world government wants to kill him, to make sure that history doesn't go anywhere. And especially since they're in contact with the Straw Hats. Because remember, Lucci was asking, so why are we even doing this? We're killing the most brilliant mind in the world. For what reason? So I'm curious, since we saw that character development with Lucci, where he didn't care less, he just wanted to kill people. That's why he was with the government. But now he's questioning his orders here, and I'm wondering if we're going to see any further development as he sees Vegapunk up close, or Luffy again. If that's going to continue to change his heart a bit.
Change Lucci's heart?
By change of heart, just not saying he's a good guy, but just kind of relooking the world a little bit. You know?
Yeah, I get it, but it's Lucci was very staunch in his beliefs. So
I'm not saying he's going to become a good person. I'm just saying, like, his beliefs have changed just a little bit already by questioning orders.
Yeah.
You know? Because his thing was dark justice. He said, I don't care why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm just a pawn. And now he's kind of like, wait, why are we, like, killing the smartest guy in the world? I don't know. So...
That's true.
Because one thing that is kind of interesting with Cyberpol is that they were all most likely all taken as orphans, you know? And I think in some sense, does that make them question their own history? You know? Like, well, where did we come from? Because we saw, like, all the sneaky shit Mother Caramel did, you know?
Yeah, which, yeah. Well, speaking of Mother Caramel, that relates back to Elbaf, which we're most certainly going to now, because that's where I think that's where all the answers are going to be.
Which makes you sad, because that means we might see Big Mom again.
Yeah, I was going to say Big Mom's probably going to show up again.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't hate Big Mom, but
I don't either. Just but 3 arcs is a bit much.
No, she's the best character.
Mother mode. Well, grandmother mode. Maybe we'll see that in the next arc. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we'll probably see Loki. the prince.
Yeah, and maybe Loki will have really cool design like Vegapunk. You know.
Yeah. Well, just talking on Vegapunk's design really quick. At the end of the chapter, like, his head is significantly smaller. So, I'm just thinking that his I'm wondering if, like, with these satellite bodies, if he literally, like, put parts of his brain in there. Because his head is so much smaller. And someone else pointed out, like, I wonder if he's, like, part of a tribe, because he's, like, the 3rd person we've seen with a really big head. Because that's, I think it's Vice Admiral Strawberry or something.
Yes.
Yeah. He has a really big head. Fuku Rokuju, and then Vegapunk. So I'm just wondering if, like, the forehead clan or whatever, forehead people.
Sure, let's go with that.
Yeah,
let's go with that.
But I mean, I do like his kind of like Einstein inspired design with the tongue sticking out and everything.
Yeah. But yeah. So those are my general thoughts. Do you have any parting shots?
I'm excited to see what happens next, but I mean, I'm kind of glad that this confirms Elbaf now, because we can kind of put that speculation to rest now because of the importance it's been put, and we can stop with the no Elbaf jokes.
Yeah,
and
no, for sure.
Yeah, and I can't wait for Bellamere to show up. She was locked in Arlong's dungeon the whole time, like in the 4Kids dub.
Yeah.
Oh
no.
Yeah, but no break next week, which is good. I think this might be a shorter arc, just based on the pace that we're going. But
yeah, who knows? We might see Lucci and F in the chat for Law. He got off screen. We're not going to see him anymore, because it's been 2 chapters without seeing him.
Oh my! That'll be in between this arc, and Elbaf.
Yeah, just Beppo's gonna just be next to Law. You know, just gone.
Beppo already went Sulong and took out all the other people besides Blackbeard.
That's true.
Yeah.
But anyways, enjoyed the chapter. It's good to be back. Please like and subscribe, everybody, and we will see ya next week.
See ya.